Claire, would you say the prayer, please?
Yes. Please join me. Heavenly Father, thank you for the blessings that you give to us this day. Thank you for bringing us together safely and allowing us to do the business of Boone County citizens. Please guide our actions and our votes tonight so that we may serve our constituents in their best interests. We pray to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. If we have a moment of silence for our veterans, please. Brian, would you say the pledge, sir?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Christian, should you roll?
Kara Staten.
Here.
Hanson.
Right. Here.
Dan Roberts.
Present.
Brian Stavely.
Present.
Kathy Valentine.
Present.
Sam Tinsley.
Here.
Robert Meek.
Here.
James Hart.
Here.
Ralph Quinn.
Present.
James Widener.
Here.
And David Thompson.
Here.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the LC?
I would so move. Minutes on the agenda?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I see we don't have a budget for treasurer.
Yeah.
Do we?
Next.
Okay. That's next, right. So approved, right?
Somebody got a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, Tommy?
Okay, the beginning balance as of December the 1st, 2015 for County General was $2,020,621.94. Revenues for the month were $1,647,000.72. Disbursements for the month were $590,805.85, resulting in a balance on December 31st, 2015 for County General of $3,076,816.81. Beginning balance as of December 1st, 2015 for county roads was $921,509.79. Revenues for the month were $153,992.90. Disbursements for the month were $222,994.79. Resulting in a balance on December 31st, 2015 of $852,507.90. 1/4 cent sales tax revenues for December were $116,541.76. 1% county sales tax revenues for December were $265,339.90. General revenue turnback for December was $14,751.12. Highway revenue turnback for December was $85,907.50. And the 1/2 cent state highway tax for December was $41,746.31.
Okay. I don't believe there's any committee meetings. We haven't formed the committees yet. I haven't, so there won't be any committee meetings. Announcements and presentations. Danny, would you like to make the first one?
Yes, sir, I suppose. We're going to present Mr. Mark Earnhardt a plaque for his 10 years of service to the Boone County 911 Board. His term is up, I guess, or done, and we want to give him this plaque and tell him thank you for everything he's done for us over the years and wish him well. Cool? Mr. Earnhardt.
Appreciate it.
That's all I have.
And in his place, we're wanting to appoint Mr. James Benefield.
Yes, sir.
James, are you here, sir?
Yes, sir.
I know you was here at the last Quorum Court meeting. We
Yes, sir.
appreciate you showing up and appreciate what you're doing. You're volunteering to take this position.
Absolutely.
Sure
I move
appreciate
to
it.
approve.
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? So be it then. Okay. Also, I'd like to recognize Mr. Perry Harness. I don't believe Perry's here today, but he has been on the board with the Hillcrest Board. He decided that he wanted to resign a little early, I think like 5 months, but he decided it was time for him to step down. In his place, I would like to nominate James Norton to fill that position.
Do we know that guy?
Not much. James, you want to say anything?
I'd just like to say it, Hillcrest, the service they provide the community, that's a county treasure, and we're all proud of that. And I would be honored to serve on that board.
I'd move to approve.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Right. That's it.
I second
Ryan seconded.
So be it, James. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. That's all the announcements. New business.
You did.
We have an appropriation ordinance for county general 911 fund and cops and school fund for Cobra, submitted by Justice David Thompson.
I'd move to read this by title only.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay.
All right, be enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Boone, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled an ordinance amending the annual budget for Boone County for the fiscal year of 2015 and authorizing the county judge to administer such budget and for other purposes. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Boone County, Arkansas, move for adoption.
Okay, we have a roll call.
Anybody got any questions?
Discussion.
Oh, yeah, any questions? Any questions from the audience? Okay, now roll call.
Ralph Gwynn.
Yes.
James Widener.
Yes.
David Thompson.
Yes.
Kara Staton. Frank Hampson.
Yes.
Dan Roberts.
Yes.
Brian Snedley.
Yes.
Kathy Valentine.
Yes.
Sam Tinsley.
Yes.
Robert Meade.
Yes.
Jim Hart.
Yes.
Okay. Moving right along. We have an ordinance for informing the Quorum Court of the 2014 legislative audit and loaning of 2 cardboard balers submitted by Justice James Widener.
I move we
Second.
read this.
Second.
Or explain it at any rate. We had our 2014 legislative audit wrote us up because those 2 balers disappeared. One was a vertical baler and the other a horizontal baler. And I think if you talk to some people that were involved in it, the vertical baler wasn't that big a deal. The horizontal baler, we kind of hate to see it go, but we didn't have a whole lot of choice. And anyway, they're gone, and this is to inform the Quorum Court. It should have went before the Quorum Court for a vote, but we kind of overlooked it, and this is to make up for that.
I need to
So I
I have a question.
You want to read that in its entirety?
just title on.
Just by title only?
title only every time.
Is everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. You said we hated to let it go. Why did we hate to let it go?
Because the solid waste district carries a lot of, they were involved in the grant to get it to begin with, and somehow they felt like they had that much authority over it, and they just kind of insisted that they give it to someone else in the solid waste district.
Question.
Who owned the baler? Excuse me, Justice.
Go ahead.
Who owns the baler?
I guess Boone County does. The way I read the grant, it was supposed to be Boone County's after a period of 3 years. And we went through the 3 years, but then the solid waste district kind of insisted it go to Carroll County. Isn't that right, James?
What's the value on the books of this baler? Oh, I guess there's 2 balers, Tony, do you know?
No, I don't. Seemed like it was, I don't know. The original cost on it was $74,000, I think. Seemed like that. It was in that neighborhood.
Question.
Yes.
Where are they physically right now?
Well, one's in Carroll County and the other's in Bull Shoals. Which is no problem. They're being used. They're probably better off being used than they are sitting here and writing down.
So we haven't had the need for that since we've had something other than the county-owned and operated recycling outfit.
Inland provides that service for the county now, and
Method did
So-
before, right?
and Methven did before.
I know James tried hard to get Inland to use it right here, and then they just didn't have the room for it and didn't want to use it and stuff, so.
Can we sell it to these places so we can get it off our books?
And
Well,
wouldn't
I'm
that
not-
have to be a bid, not just a direct sale?
Well, I don't think we can sell it.
When it was purchased with a state grant, though, they can pretty much tell you what you can do, what you can't do. So.
And if it's not being used, I'm sure that's the reason.
It's a solid waste district calling the shots on it, and they are using it, so it's gone right now. We'll just have to get another one if that need
Is this
arises.
what started on Dutch Park Road with part of the Boone County Mental Health too? Wouldn't they some volunteers and
Yeah, but that was Dan knows more about that. He was part of it.
That's been 15 years ago or so.
I don't believe we had that baler then. I think that big baler came when Methens came in, didn't they, James?
That did.
Yeah.
We had the 2 of those little vertical balers, and one of them was not worth keeping. I think we just junked it out, and the other one was in pretty good shape. So
I'll be honest with you, I looked up the value on them before they left, and they're hard to resell. You know, they're just not worth much after. You got very few people to want them.
and hard to move too.
Yeah, they are.
We had more in moving costs than.
But,
I think it cost us $3,100 to move them. wasn't it?
yeah.
If we get rid of them, is it gonna be a public auction, or we just gonna?
We can't get rid of them.
We can't get rid of them.
they're gone?
Physically. They're just where they are, and
And
They are.
they're being used for what they were built for, so that's good.
But if we bought them, they've gotta have a value of scrap iron if nothing else. I
Well-
don't think we can give stuff away. We have to put it up for auction, don't we? That's county property.
Well, like I say, the solid waste district was involved in it. So they get the cost of the shop.
It was
a grant.
Right.
It was a grant.
Purchased them, and we can't sell them, that would be a profit to us, and that won't work.
Pay 78,000 for it, and we sell it for 1,000. That's a profit. How do you figure
Not
that?
to us, because we bought it with a grant.
It was on a grant.
It was on a grant. The money didn't come out of our pocket.
James, is this ordinance, would this clear us up with the audit?
This will make our audits come back clean. That's the main purpose, that's the purpose of it. Does this have to be on 3 readings?
February we can do and go over.
This has to be on 3 readings, so let's just let go of 3 readings.
Want to put it on a second reading, I'll motion.
I'll make a motion to place it on the second reading. Is it time to do that?
I'll second.
Get it done. Get
You
it
did.
done.
Has it been read? Has it been readed yet?
It's not been read once yet.
Motion to.
Before he needs to read the title.
I'll do that. Be enacted by the Quorum Board of Boone County, State of Arkansas, in order to be entitled, ordinance to inform the full court.
Do we want to suspend the rules now?
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules, place on the second reading.
Who seconded the
Third reading.
Who seconded that?
You said third, second, whatever it is.
No.
Oh, who seconded the first reading?
That's what I would need.
We're going to need a Rubik's Cube. I can tell.
We have a first and second, so we need to do it by roll call.
Yeah, please.
Okay. James Whiter,
Yes.
David Thompson,
Yes.
Kara Staten,
Yes.
Frank Hampson,
Yes.
Dan Roberts.
Yes.
Brian Stavely.
Yes.
Kathy Valentine.
Yes.
Sam Tinsley.
Yes.
Robert Meek.
Yes.
Jim Park.
Yes.
Ralph Quinn.
Yes.
Do we want to dispense with it and suspend them again, put it on the third reading? Or do we want to let it ride for 30 days?
I
Would
hate
that
to
be
be
good?
abusing that privilege we have to do that.
Well, that's
I'd
fine.
rather let it ride for 30 days.
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll get it for that.
Let it ride.
Do they actually need to read the title again?
We're gonna think for a second. Move on.
All right.
We need to do that. We come back next time, third reading. Any comments from the public?
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of things brought to my attention today that I think the Quorum Court today will be made aware of. First is the sales tax that's due to come up this year. I was asked to contact the attorney that handled that process for us back in 2006, and I did. It was with the Friday, the Eldridge and Clark firm in Little Rock. His name is Michael Moyer. And he went on to explain that, number one, there had been a lot of changes in that procedure, and we could get ourselves in trouble if we don't take care of them early on. He points out, first of all, that the procedure takes about 3 months from the time you do the election until you draw your first check. So if we waited until the November election, we wouldn't draw any money from that sales tax until April. That's the first thing he pointed out. And the next thing was that he needs to know, well, first of all, I have presented this to the judge, and the attorney has asked that he notify them of the approval to hire him to guide us through this process this year. And Robert has indicated, yes, he would do that. His fee for the process is $4,000 if the tax passes. If it does not pass, he charges us for whatever time he spends doing the ordinances and what have you that are involved. And to my way of thinking, he's going to charge us $4,000. That doesn't make a difference what we do or how it turns out. But he said that we have to have an ordinance at least 1 month prior to the election and in the county clerk's office before that time. I made a copy of that ordinance today and emailed it to the attorney asking him what changes might be made. There are 2 questions, namely, number 1, when will you hold the election? That's primary. And the next question is, are there any changes that we desire to make within the uses of this tax in the next 10 years should it pass? And I think that's a decision we should make tonight.
Yeah, I talked to him on the phone, and he questioned me about that too.
Yeah. And it's something that it has been suggested that perhaps we would consider putting it into the September school election. That would give us the time. That provides there. In other words, that means then we'd have to have this ordinance in the clerk's office in August, at the August meeting. But that would fulfill that requirement. And if there are no changes desired in the uses that we had initially, that would answer all of his questions and he could proceed. There are several ordinances and some other things that have to be done, And he was good to work with the last time, as I remember, and so I think if we are in a position at this time to make that decision as to the date, I think that would take care of the problem.
And first, I think we need to decide whether we're going to hire him or not, and I believe I'm for it, and I hope everybody else is.
It's the same outfit.
It's the same
I
outfit.
talked to Chef Russell down there at the Friday Farm, same outfit, and he was familiar with it and everything. And I mean, we've got two decisions to make right off: is what and when. I mean, whether we're going to leave the sunset clause in, whether we're going to take it out. And now he explained to me that if it's a renewal of an existing exactly the same, there were different days required to have it in advance. If it's new, I thought it was 120, and if it's existing, maybe 90. I can't remember all those numbers, but there is there is a difference between new and just a continuation. If we change anything if we change it to 9 years or to 11 years or take the sunset clause out, that, as I understand it, makes it a new one.
That's what I understood too. Is that right?
But I mean, that's no issue. I mean, we've got, I've gotten the timelines and deadlines and everything from the clerk's office back, I don't know, September, October last year, just so we wouldn't miss anything. But we should have plenty of time to make the decisions, and once we make the decisions as a quorum court, it does have to go for an ordinance, and then is when we can send it to these guys to write it the way we want it written. And I don't know, I don't know what exactly all the deadlines are. I haven't looked at that file since we started on budget.
Well, I don't think there's anything more important than us getting this out there right now, starting right now. There's going to be some ramifications if it doesn't pass. I think we all know that. So,
Should we need to make this decision tonight, now, for the full court?
I think it would be good. That way I can get in contact with him and tell him we'll go with that.
I mean, definitely we can hire them. I think we've got time to make these other decisions if we want to. One thing that I would say difference in the September or the November election, schools don't have to have the polls open anymore unless they have a bond issue or a race. Years ago, they had the polls open anyway. So in that scenario, it wouldn't necessarily cost us anymore. But it'll just be dependent upon, and even if all 6 districts had a race or a bond issue, there's 15 polling places, right, in the county? So I'm kind of thinking, it might cost us a little less if we did it in the general election, because we would be paying for all the polling spots, the early voting, everything.
Now, Dan, didn't he say
But
we
we
couldn't
would
hold
not
it?
draw any income from that until April.
Yeah, well, I don't see that as a problem, because we have a reserve, and we can surely, if we've not managed it to where we can last a couple of months, well, then we've not done a very good job of managing it.
Well, I guess if it's a motion, then I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve this so the judge can, to hire the law firm to let the judge go ahead and make that.
I'd second that, yeah.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Any comments from?
I got a question for Mr. Etheridge. Is the wording of the ordinance just as important as the wording on the ballot?
Yes.
Okay, so how long are we going to have to prepare this? Is that a month or?
My suggestion is this, and I think that the court has made a great decision to hire them to do this. This is what they do, and they're really good at it. I would encourage y'all to allow the judge to work with them between now and the next meeting, so he can bring you a proposed ordinance to look at and move it forward that direction. I think it's critical to make sure all those things mesh together, and by letting the judge do that, I think it can make this thing be a much smoother process.
I can send him a copy and ask him to show us any revisions necessary.
So if we
Well,
decided we want to leave it the same.
And
Well, that's-
I think that's one of the questions
Yeah.
that y'all will have to address, but I think at least you need to have a template to start with, because it's the old ordinance, that's fine, but I think at least everyone needs between now and when that comes back to say, is this what we want to move forward to or not? But I think that's very critical.
If we have that by next month at this time, we should be all right.
Our
right?
time limit is still good.
I would think the only change that we'd really be thinking about would be sunset or no sunset. Am I right or wrong? I mean, I don't know, are there other options that we're looking at? So that's basically our choices, whether we leave it in or take the clause out.
Does that need to be decided tonight?
No.
No, I don't. I'm just trying to be definitive on what we need to be thinking about, what the decisions are that we need to make. I mean, you can be thinking about the ordinance, and you can be thinking about the money, and you can be thinking about this, but if you're not thinking about the right questions. And the main thing is the sunset or not, and then when we're going to have the election, what and when. I mean, we do kind of need to have something other next month formulated as far as that goes.
Well, this 4,000 would be a contractual
Absolutely.
agreement, right? So I think that's why we need to vote on it, make sure
Yeah.
that everyone's good with the $4,000.
Do we need anything more than an ordinance tonight to hire him? Okay.
I think y'all can make a contract if you choose to.
Okay.
If y'all do want to look at a special election, I can get the amounts, kind of give you a rough idea. Like, let's say you want to back it up to the summer to see if it passes, and then you would know where you're going instead of wait till the last minute. I just thought.
Well, I mean, yeah, it would be good to know what it's going to cost us if we put the whole bill. Now, in the fall election, in the November election, what portion of that does the county actually put the bill on that election?
It all gets kind of on a spreadsheet.
Municipalities.
It all goes out.
Okay, so we just pay a percentage then, if you will. Any other
But, I mean,
time?
the county would be taking it, part of it anyway, due to county elections.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Yeah, I mean, but basically, our cost would be reduced in the general election as opposed to a special election or potentially the September day. Because I'm thinking that the school election would wind up being almost like a special election.
you never know when it
Yeah.
comes to elections. Last couple, we've only had maybe 2 or 3 races throughout the county. So.
Well, and even if, like I said, there's 6 districts in the county, that still leaves 9 more precincts, voting precincts that we would have to completely pay for and this and that. So it'd be really good to have the numbers on what the difference, if it was $150, maybe not significant enough to change a date, but if it was $10,500, why it might be a consideration. I don't know.
Well, it's just to throw out there, with our new machines, the state, they are picking up a lot of our expenses this year. Just saying,
If we do
Anytime we
have
use
to,
them.
for the first year.
Early adoption,
So we could do rack one up in each month.
What was you saying, Jim?
if we do have to wait 3 months before we realize the money, is the tax just not collected for that 3 months?
Yeah,
That's correct.
they don't pay.
That way offsets the $10,000 savings in the election.
That's what I think too. Well, we've got a month to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, wouldn't it be better to know earlier before you start the budget process, whether that passes or not?
would be advantageous either way.
Well, I'm sure we'll get something from Michael in the next few days, I can imagine.
Yeah, I'm supposed to call him soon. I'll call him tomorrow, next day at least.
I emailed him today.
I had a question for Justice Roberts. When you talked about the expense, and if it's an election that is won, it's a fee of $4,000, but is the fee the same if it doesn't pass?
Doesn't make any difference to him, that's his fee for the process.
Okay.
Whether it passes or not, it's gonna
If it
cost you
passes,
that.
that's what he understands, if it passes, but Who's kidding who? That's what it's gonna cost us.
I think he's well within $4,000.
But there is considerable work, I will say that. And he does all of it.
And he'll even develop the language for the ballot.
Pardon me?
He'll write the ballot language,
He does everything, yes.
submit it to the
I have a copy of that also, but I didn't.
Well, we may not vary from the existing ballot issue. I mean,
I can tell you that, we need to be upfront about this. We need this money to run the jail from here on out. And I think
Exactly.
just putting a sunset clause on it again is just,
I agree.
it's just silly. We need to remove the sunset and just establish it as a permanent tax.
I would tend to agree with that because it's a whole lot like kicking the can down the road if we don't.
Well, you have to do it every 10 years that way.
Yeah. And the way I've thought about this, it's
Excuse me a second. We believe that probably we should discuss this at the next meeting, so we can let the public know that we are discussing this and give them a chance for their input and stuff.
Yeah, it's not really on the agenda.
Right, and so we probably need to wait before we discuss it more.
I've got one, if you're through discussing that, I've got something I want to bring up.
No.
Just, no. Just to let the full court know, about a month ago, I was contacted about state law, which was passed last year about county employees carrying firearms on county property. Okay? I gave the ordinance to several people, and some of those were lawyers. Well, they got a hold of it. And there's some changes I've got to make in it. Now, I'm just throwing this out there just to let all of you know that this has been asked about. And I had already written up an ordinance, but what I put in there was either a violation of law or whatever. So we've got to take another look, and I guess maybe that will go before the law enforcement committee at some point in time. But just to let you know that there's an ordinance that we're looking at, whether it'll go or not, that'll be up to the law enforcement.
David wants to say something.
Yeah.
If that's the direction that we're going to go, I have the ordinance that will pass muster. I'll be glad to get it to you.
Okay.
That's been reviewed.
The only thing I look on this, after thinking about it now, will we be liable as far as the county? That's what concerns me.
And one of my concerns, and I just, before I say anything, get myself in trouble, I am a firm believer in the Second Amendment. I'm a firm believer. But one of my concerns has been for the county, and I will tell you Baxter County's in the same position right now, is that if someone were to discharge a weapon, that becomes an issue. Now, we will have that conversation with our carrier before we get down that road, but there's immunity, as y'all know, for certain acts, and there's not for other acts, and so that's what we'll be very careful about. But yes, if you want to look at that, I've got the ordinance. I'll be glad to get it to you so you can look at it. I'll be glad to let everybody see a copy of what we know will pass muster. And the biggest change on the existing law is it allows the quorum court with an approved process and certain regulations to allow full-time county employees and county-wide elected officials to be able to carry in certain buildings inside the county. It's not
Don't
me.
trust the rest of us.
Isn't it amazing? Can we
in our district? Can we in our district?
If you have a concealed carry permit, you can do whatever you want to the district.
I'm one of these people, don't ask, don't tell. But anyway.
I understand. I didn't hear that, but anyway, I will get that for y'all to look at it. You're most welcome to.
I don't think I have to.
Okay.
I think that's one of the things that was pointed out by another attorney, this potential liability.
It concerns me.
She can get on through.
But I'm not crystal with it.
I don't know what.
Don't make me mad. That's all you have to do.
No.
Is there any questions from the audience?
I've got a few things after that.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Dave.
I guess you could term this kind of a report from the AAC board. some of the developing issues for this next election year, and I think everybody's probably heard about maybe most of these. The highway funding, of course, that's a big old deal, and everybody says, well, that they're not going to give us the 3-digit roads; they're just wanting more money. But it is an issue that the state highway department is looking at some things, and they're getting pretty close, I think, to figuring out something other. They tend to really want everything to be revenue neutral, coming out of Little Rock here this last session and everything. Another thing is there's an initiative for 4-year terms for county elected officials. And on the jail overcrowding thing, on that issue, the big talk statewide is kind of like the guy that came here and presented a couple of alternatives and everything. I don't think necessarily that was structured as well as what it needs to be and all to fit into this, but that's the big thing that they're looking at on the jails and the prisons. Coincidentally, there's been in the last couple of months, there was a situation over in my area. A person did something other that maybe isn't mentally stable, and if there were these places, more places, the whole thing that they talk about at the state is that a lot of folks that are going to jail and to prison aren't really suited for that. They need some other kind of help. Now, Washington County, I think, has already passed a resolution or something other. Basically endorsing this practice of not throwing everybody in prison. And of course, as a side effect, they do hope that this is going to help the jail prison overcrowding, but they're going to need some alternate mental health units around the state. So I don't know that anything's going to cost much less, but maybe if we can do some of these things, accomplish some of these things, maybe it will decrease the backup into all of our county jails statewide. But anyway, those are, like I said, most of you may have heard about those, but those are the really big issues that they're talking about. Really needing a solution to, and needing it in a bad way. So anyway, that's it.
I move for adjournment.
Okay. We talked about a couple of months ago possibly changing the meeting night to Tuesday night. We had a couple of holiday deals, that fell on Monday. I think it might help the judge, and it certainly helped me. Would y'all want to consider changing the meeting night to Tuesday night?
I think we did that a few years ago when Houston was working at Fairmont on Monday.
I don't have a problem with it now. That's your own night.
I'd move to approve.
Second.
All those in
That's
favor
not on
say
the
aye.
agenda. I move we put it off to next month.
He needs to put on the agenda.
I'm for it.
He should put on the agenda so the public knows we'll discuss it at the next meeting.
Put that on the agenda.
Do that.
No, I'm all for it.
I think it would be better for Lucretia too. Yeah, she's.
I'm with you, man. Don't care.
We have a motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
This program is brought to you as a public service of KTKO Channel 8.